Hello, folks. In this video, I wanted to talk about how I wonder about criminals, right? Like, who are these people? How did they come to be? How did they become to be a criminal, right? Like, what is the trajectory of a person growing up and then becoming a criminal? When I say criminal, I'm basically referring to like doing something illegal in their location, their country, state, whatever. Right? Yeah, I mean, I think surely there will be research, criminal psychologists, and people who study the brain, the mind, and mental health issues and whatnot would be actually checking out and understanding how a criminal gets created or how a criminal is found with. Because I don't think anyone, if they're born, anyone who's born, I don't think they're a criminal when they're born immediately. That's maybe it's possible, I don't know, but I'm guessing that's probably very rare, right? So, but then growing up, their environment, their situations, their choices, their decisions, their thought process, their mindset, their ideas, opinions, right, around life, how they see the world, their perspectives and all views, and how they tackle their problems in life, right? Like everyone has their own way of tackling problems, their own strategy, right? Some people are calm and patient. Some people just get really angry and impatient and rage, have a lot of rage. So how do criminals get formed is something that I was just wondering about. And I want to actually talk about some anecdotes, right? Based on what I've read, and what I think. Like these are just some ideas or assumptions and nothing researched yet. But this is what I'm wondering, right? Like based on the movies I see or the what do you say, news I read, news I hear, and whatnot. Like, how does a minor, say a 17-year-old person, guy, boy, rape someone? How does a psychopath become to be, right? A serial killer become to. How are they formed or how are they created? And the question that I have in mind, one more is, can you even find out that these people will turn into such criminals, right? Such so and so criminals, or in general a criminal, by asking them a set of questions or by seeing their behavior and trying to understand how to ensure that they don't become a criminal, right? For example, I've seen a lot of movies, English movies, where it's usually American movies, so USA based, United States of America. So in the US, I think usually there's a popular notion. I don't know how about now, but a lot of years ago, there was this whole notion of like how black people get into you know rowdyism. Basically, they form gangs, they do criminal stuff, they end up in prison and whatnot, right? Especially kids, right? Kids or just turned into adults, people who just turned into adults like 18, 19, 20 and all that. And so they basically get into criminal gangs, they try to become gangsters or whatever, right? Um, what's it called? The underworld, right? They try to join the underworld, they deal drugs, weed or whatever, heroin, whatever, right? So, how does this even end up happening, right? Like, I think a lot of movies that I've seen, they usually are living in a neighborhood, in a black neighborhood, where there are a lot of criminals, right? Young criminals, old criminals, and whatnot. And somehow these people end up joining these gangs, either intentionally or unintentionally, or through force, right? Like, hey, you need to join me, right? There are probably so-called weak people who can be influenced very easily. They're naive, right? So that is one possibility that I can think of. Another thing that I can think of is negligence by loved ones, say parents, guardians, right? Whoever, right? Basically, if a child is neglected, the child doesn't receive enough love, and this actually has a lot of problems apparently, right? This leads to problems later in life when they grow up, let's say in romantic relationships or any kind of relationship they form with other human beings, right? Because their early stage relationship with their loved ones, their primary caregivers, caretakers, if their primary caretakers, caregivers didn't give them enough love and affection and care, and they didn't bond with them enough, then apparently that can have lot of repercussions and side effects, bad side effects and bad repercussions, right? So negative, really negative problems, negative side effects. So let's say there is some boy or a girl, or a man or a woman who grows up in such a way that they're neglected by their parents, because let's say the family itself is struggling and the parents are just trying to make ends meet and always working, or the parents are very rich, it's a rich family, and they're always working, they don't have time for their kids, and they just have maids, caretakers, or help, basically, a nicer word, help to babysit their kids or to take care of their kids, drive them around and whatnot. Now, these kids, if they become sad, I think they'll end up getting into the bad things. Say, start taking vices, for example, smoke cigarettes, drink alcohol to make them feel good, because in general they're feeling bad and sad and all. And this might lead to probably other bad things. For example, say if they're drunk and they're driving, or if they're intoxicated in general and they're driving, they can hit and run someone, and they can get into uh, criminal cases, and then they might end up in bed with someone they didn't want to, or at least they didn't want to have a kid with someone and whatnot, but then they ended up getting pregnant, and then now they have to do an abortion, which is also not a great place to be in, to get a surgery, to get an abortion and all, especially for minor kids who are less than 18, or who just turned into adults. And especially unwanted pregnancies are not a great idea at all, and it brings in a lot of problems, I think. And I even spoke about how unwanted pregnancies, if the parent actually has the kid and like gives birth to the kid, if the mom gives birth to the kid even though she didn't want to, and even though she didn't want to have a kid, but she couldn't abort for some reason or whatever, because of health issues or whatever, or it was too late or whatever, right? Or it was illegal and hence she couldn't abort, and she couldn't abort in an illegal way also because it was hard, or she would have been caught. So she gave birth to the child, but she didn't want a child, so she will just give the child away to someone to adopt, or basically just leave them for others to take care of the child, say some foster parents or whatever, right? Or some, what do you say, orphanage or whatever, right? So, and then these kids may turn into criminals apparently, right? Because it's more like the mother itself who didn't want the kid, so the kid probably feels a lot of hate. And who knows, I don't know how the mother's thought process when having the child in her womb, her thought process, her feelings towards the kid, how it affects the kid, right? I don't know about the research around that, but generally people say that if the mom talks something uh, when the child is in the womb, the child can generally hear the mom and whatnot. And can the child feel the mom's feelings? Anxiety, happiness, hate, anger, disappointment, guilt, shame, I don't know, embarrassment, and all, I don't know. Uh, and like pure rage towards the kid. That would be sad. It's just a bad situation that ends up. It's just a sequence of choices that probably ends up in such a situation. And then the other thing is, like, unwanted pregnancies can happen, and then these children who are or grown up adults, not too much grown up, just um, they are adults who just became adults, 18, 25, whatever, right? Or within 30 or whatever, and within 30 would not be just became adults, okay? Within say 20, 22, whatever, or even they are just between 20 to 30, and they grew up with parents who didn't give them enough love, or with primary caregivers and primary caretakers who didn't give them enough love, affection, and care. So now they would actually look for love, affection, and care from someone else, from friends, from other parts of the family, or from anyone who is ready to give them love. Now, if gangsters and criminals and any illegal people who do illegal jobs figure out that there are some set of people who are actually naive or vulnerable because they are not getting enough love and affection, and if these gangsters are bad people, bad, so-called bad because they're doing some illegal stuff, if they find out that there are some kids like this, or um, like these, there are some people like these, and they are vulnerable and naive, then they can actually probably find a way to form a connection with them, give them the love and affection that they are craving for, these kids or grown up adults. And these kids or grown up adults will do anything for them, right? So these gangsters can actually be really nice, but they're also doing illegal stuff. So this can affect these kids or grown up adults, or they can actually just act like they're nice just for their own selfish reasons or whatever, right? But once these kids and grown up adults feel the affection and they are liking it, they're loving it, and they feel good, they start interacting more and more with such bad people, and they end up in bad situations, doing bad stuff, doing criminal stuff, illegal stuff, and all that, right? So that is also one way that people and kids can get into problems, is what I think. And then when kids, people, when they focus on the wrong things and they don't have other things in their life, enough things in their life that they can focus on, that they are interested in, right? For example, I saw this movie, I forgot the name, it's called Coach Carter, is it? I forgot the name. So it's a really nice movie. It's about a coach who coaches a basketball team. I think the whole basketball team, most of them are black, some of them are white, and it's a US. It's in I can't remember which city, which state, was. But the idea is there are some kids, some black kids in the team who are in the wrong neighborhood, who are probably in the edge of good and bad. They might get into the bad anytime. They have to be really careful, right? Because they are roaming around with people who are really bad. They are roaming around with people who are getting shot and killed and whatnot. So once in this movie, one of the black kids gets shot and killed. The other kid, who is a basketball player, then starts running towards the coach and goes to the coach's house and says, so initially, actually, this kid would have been banned from the team by the coach for being late or something, and for multiple reasons. I think I can't remember now. I saw this movie a long time ago. Then this kid is like, I won't actually join back the team, because they understand that if they focus on becoming a basketball player, if they focus on basketball and stuff like that, they might not get shot and killed. They might not get into illegal stuff and whatnot. Shot and killed by other gangsters, opposite rival gangs, or by the police and whatnot. Right? So basically, it's about focus, right? For example, I recently saw this LinkedIn post where there is this police in the US, a white woman, a police. She comes and she brings a van with her, and she brings some men. They're all police, and she says she goes to a black neighborhood, I think, and to a black house, where she asks this one small little boy, "Do you know who this guy is? This man is?" And then the boy and the mother are like, "Oh, we don't know." This is all being filmed. I don't know if this was like properly staged and all, but at the end, I'll tell you what basically happened. But basically, this woman explains that this man is actually the basketball cop, and apparently, the black kid, the small kid, lost his basketball hoop. It got stolen a few days ago, and they couldn't find it, but they have a replacement, and they want to give it to him, and it's been given by this basketball cop. Uh, so they're all being very nice and kind, and they go to the van, they get the basketball hoop. It's a really big basketball hoop, and then they also give him an extra thing, a cycle. So now this black kid can actually spend his time, energy, efforts, and his thought process, like his headspace, on stuff like say basketball, riding bicycle, and whatnot. Given I think they are not exactly well off, but they're probably a bit well off, but not well off that they can just lose one basketball hoop and then buy another one and then again and again and again. So these cops, they did a great thing, because let's say this basketball hoop never came back, right? The lost one or this new one that this basketball cop gave, who goes around giving basketball hoops or free basketball hoops to kids, um, or even free bicycles. If they don't do that, these kids, especially the black kids and all, or even the white kids, these kids might end up just focusing on school, might spend time with their friends, and if they are in a bad neighborhood, they might get into the bad stuff, and their time, their focus, their headspace, energy, efforts, everything might just get divided into the bad stuff and the good stuff, and at some point they'll just get dragged into the bad stuff, right? So by giving this basketball hoop and bicycle, I think the great thing is now this black kid, can actually focus on playing basketball with his friends, and riding bicycle probably with his friends again, and then and his family also probably. I think he has some siblings and all. So, and yeah, I mean, he probably most probably won't get into bad stuff, right? Because he has other things that he loves doing that he can probably get better at, and he might probably just become a cyclist, a professional cyclist, or he might become a professional basketball player for the nation, for the world, or at least for the city or state that he is in, or for the school that he is in, right? So there are a lot of these teams, basketball teams at school level, playing with each other and all, with other schools, and then within the school and whatnot. So he'll have other things that he likes, he loves, he's passionate about, right? So I think it's important to have some level of passion for something or the other, something that is not criminal and illegal and all that, and it can probably set you free. I don't know. I have to see the research on this, but I feel like these cops, if they didn't give this black kid or any kid who probably would have received this, could have become a criminal, and they would have probably spent time. The cops would have spent time, energy, efforts, and their headspace in finding such criminals and nabbing them, or even shooting them, and imprisoning them, getting them to court for the court trial, and then putting them in prison and taking care of them in the prison and whatnot. They would rather put in all that money that is required, the cost of all of that, the actual money cost, and the time, energy, efforts, headspace, into actually doing something good that can actually help in ensuring that the crime rate and the number of criminals reduces, right? And the crime rate index and crime index actually reduces, as in more like the number of crimes reduces, the intensity of the crimes reduces. So yeah, I mean, that's one thing that I can think of, like how you can actually ensure that you can actually reduce the crimes and whatnot somehow. But yeah, I mean, how do these people come to be? There might be more ways, more reasons, but yeah. And yeah, I mean, recently in India, I've been hearing and seeing all these sexual assaults. I'm sure there are a lot of sexual assaults and rape cases and murder cases and sexual abuse cases, and many brutal cases and general cases that didn't get reported, and that happened to, say, privileged people, underprivileged people, economically underprivileged people, and whatnot, or less powerful people, the minorities and whatnot, minorities in I don't know, in their caste, in India caste is a thing, or in their financial status, or their religion and whatnot, right? It can be minority in anything. So popularly minority in economic or financial status and power, right? Society, status in society and power, right? Their influence that they have in the system, that is the government, the system, the judicial system, I guess, or the law and all that. So I've been hearing a lot of cases, and I was just wondering, like, what kind of person would actually, for example, I heard in one case, 12 people raped a small girl. I was wondering, why would anyone do that? Especially a gang rape, 12 people, one person is one thing, and then two people is one thing, and then 12 people. Like, how did they come with that idea? Like, was it impromptu? What happened? Like, what exactly happened? How could that have been prevented, right? Like, were they intoxicated? Were the criminals intoxicated and then they lost their senses and their bad thoughts became reality? I don't know. Like, I don't know what happened there. And then how a pedophile becomes a pedophile. What goes on in the mind of these criminals? Why they do what they do? Is it because of mental health issues? Is it because of past trauma? Is it because of I don't know, like some sort of rage, right, inside them? Is it because they just can't help it? They just want to keep doing it, or else they will be stressed out. They will suffer probably some mental health issue and whatnot. So I don't know what's going on in the minds of these rapists, or to be rapists, or pedophiles, or to be pedophiles, or these criminals in general, right, who are murderers, scammers, and whatnot. Of course, a lot of people do things for money. For example, someone can pay someone else to actually murder someone, and as part of their murdering process, they can do something worse. They can torture them, and one form of torture is basically sexual assault or rape and all that, right? So, and they can do more and whatnot, and then finally murder them. So they just did it for money, and they also wanted to probably, uh, you know, what do you say, quest their thirst for sex or rape. Probably, I think I saw this one movie where this guy is actually a criminal. He's actually kidnapping women and assaulting them and like beating them up, and is getting into violent sexual acts. Basically, it's called BDSM, I think, popularly. And later, when he's caught, he says that he is actually the innocent, as in, he basically says that he's a doctor, by the way. He's a gynecologist. He's a gynecologist who basically treats women, and apparently, a lot of women come to him for abortion and for illegal abortion or whatever. And he thinks that these women who come for illegal abortion don't deserve things and deserve to be actually what do you say, punished or tortured, or it's okay to torture or punish them. uh, he thinks that these are bad women who got into bed with men and got themselves pregnant, when in fact there could have been many reasons they got pregnant by mistake, or it was just a slip in their choice or decision. That doesn't mean they deserve to be hurt, tortured, raped, murdered, and all that. So this guy also says that he is actually a mental health patient who actually derives pleasure by seeing other people, uh, get tortured or suffer. Right? He's kind of like a sadist, and he actually derives pleasure, especially sexual pleasure, from actually seeing people get tortured, or from seeing blood from someone getting hurt and bleeding, all that, right? And brutally getting hurt, tortured, and all. So he derives sexual pleasure from that. So he finds that sexy. It's crazy. So he says he is a mental health patient, right? Maybe it's true, right? I mean, it's a movie, it's a fictional character, but then I'm just saying, like, this is one example where. So then, how do you ensure that such a guy doesn't end up doing criminal stuff? And how do you prevent such crime, right? Like, I don't know. People who derive pleasure from hurting others. And the thing is this, right? I think the world is like a jungle or basically forest. Right. It's like there are all kinds of animals, organisms, living organisms, right? There are all kinds of living things. There will be lions, there will be deers, probably lions will be less, deers might be more. There will be rabbits, there will be birds and whatnot. And there is a food chain, right? There is a food, like any of these animals can be food for another animal. For example, a deer can be food for a lion or a tiger, more like a lioness. I think I've heard that lioness only gets the food. I don't know. Anyways, uh, so anyone can be prey and anyone can be predator. And I mean, not anyone. Like, it's possible that a lot of these animals are prey for a lot of other animals, predators, right? More like carnivore animals will end up eating other animals, unlike omnivorous animals who will just eat grass and leafy vegetables and whatnot. Like green stuff, green leafy plant stuff, vegetarian stuff. So, similarly, I think we are in a world where there are people, there is kind of like a food chain or a status chain, financial chain, and there is also uh, groups of people who are actually fighting each other. For example, men and women fighting each other. Uh, Men fighting for men's rights, women fighting for women's rights, transgender people fighting for women's rights, for transgender rights and whatnot. People fighting for human rights. There are all sorts of groups who are fighting each other. They are always in war, or they are sometimes in war. They're always like on the opposite sides, and there are political parties fighting each other. There are individuals and groups of people fighting each other, and then there are criminals and the non-criminals. Right? Criminals go ahead and hurt the non-criminals and whatnot, or even criminals. There can be rival gangs within criminals. I think it's just inevitable to have people harming each other and hurting each other. Though it's a civilized society, and we want peace and calm and whatnot, and we want world peace, we are still not there yet, and we have to see how we can actually cater to the needs and wants of all the people, and also ensure that no one gets hurt, right? So, so the world is like a jungle where there's a food chain where anyone can just hurt anyone else and eat up anyone. And yeah, I mean, for example, criminals like rapists, pedophiles will actually go ahead and rape people, or rape kids and all. I'm just wondering how to ensure that we can prevent the crime itself, and also ensure that there are no rapists or pedophiles and whatnot, like, or killers or murderers or scammers or even thieves, right? Uh, so how do you ensure like the crime is pretty low, and also, even if the criminals are there, how do you protect the people from criminals at different layers, right? I think in the future we might have, I mean, given say India's population, for example, is a pretty big population, we can't have police safeguarding everyone, and every police is also different. Like, they'll have only so much power and energy to actually fight off someone, even physically, right? So I'm guessing probably in the future we'll have robots to, safeguard people. Even then, I think it will be like a privilege. Only the people with money, who are financially privileged, economically privileged, or they have status and power, will be able to probably appoint a robot to protect them. Yeah, I don't know. And then, I mean, people talk about how, I understand that rape is intense, murder is also intense, especially brutal murders. Uh, it's just that I'm not going to say this is less aware. I'm just going to say that there are a lot of crimes happening in the world, a lot of people dying, and lot of people dying out of crimes or out of even bad health, right? And there are a lot of reasons for bad health also. People are sometimes slowly killed, right? Slow poison through junk food and whatnot. So we're slightly going in a tangent, but I just want to say that people are dying and are tortured in different ways, but we are only able to see the tortures done to, say, minorities, say women or kids who are powerless or who have very less power against some of these people who are very brutal criminals, and they end up getting raped, assaulted, and whatnot by these people. So, I mean, oh my god, I lost my train of thought. I was looking at a cockroach over here, planning to kill it. Anyways, yeah, that's also a thing. Like, according to the cockroach, I'll be a bad guy because I kill it. For me, I'm just killing. I'm liking killing cockroaches. Almost psychopath in the cockroach world, or exactly a psychopath in the cockroach world. Anyways, so I have a bad cold, and I look like people generally would call this as I look like shit because I'm sick. Yeah, that's why the weird talking. I'm sorry about that. Sorry for that. So, I mean, we all raise our voices at times here and there. Say in India, for example, they do protests. I sometimes wonder if these people who protest, they just want something bigger than them, something to protest. Even I would love to actually be a protester and be like, give us justice, right? But that is just for like one case and probably one set of cases, say rape, murder, brutal murder, and whatnot, and especially against people who are very powerful people, right? The thing is this, like, there are a lot of bad things happening. It's just that there are some groups of people who can raise their voices really loud, who can get a lot of support. For example, women in India can actually get a lot of support, and from men, from women, and all that. Funnily, some women would not take support from some women. I mean, no one has to take support from everyone. Just because two people are women doesn't mean they like each other. Or even if, let's say, for example, LGBTQ, it's a minority group of people. Just because two people are queer, let's say two people are gay, two women are gay, doesn't mean they like each other, right? Like I have known a friend who is actually gay, and she doesn't like a queer person. Say, I think she doesn't like Ellen DeGeneres, who is actually a queer person, right? Who's gay. So it can come off as surprising for many. They'll be like, "You're queer," just because two people have some common qualities or common attributes or properties doesn't mean they like each other. I'm Hindu, for example, a religion, but I'm an atheist actually. But on paper, officially, I'm Hindu. I'm not certified as an atheist or like no religion, right? Doesn't mean I like all the Hindus. Same is true for, say, there was a movie I saw where it was all about minority people. That is specifically in this case in the movie it was Muslim people. There were some Muslim people who were actually going against another set of Muslim people, right? They were betraying them for money, for power, for status, and all, right? For becoming a leader of some group of people, for a party and whatnot. So it'll be surprising. You'll be like, dude, you people are in minority. You need to stand together to actually be uh, strong and powerful, right? But then that might not be the case, right? Religion or caste or your sexuality or your gender or anything may not guarantee that you have, I mean, someone has your back. Anything will not, all those things or any attribute will not guarantee that you have support, right? Just because you and someone else or some group of people have the same set of attributes, especially attributes which are a minority in the world, right? Just because two people are black doesn't mean one black person cannot betray or harm another black person, right? So, yeah, I mean, but then in general in India, I think a lot of women have a lot of support. They can make a lot of noise, and there's a lot of politics that goes on when it comes to women and kids. Men, I mean, I'll say men are neglected or popularly men are neglected is like a popular opinion or by men or some women who actually support men. I would say the reality is many people are like neglected. It's not just about men, women, or whatever. In many times or timelines, people are neglected. I know that men have a lot of privilege in many cases, and the thing is this, right? Now in India, today is what, August 22, 2024. A lot of women are actually speaking out, voicing out their opinion with all of their freedom of speech. And any man who says anything against it or whatever will actually face a lot of hate, right? Will face a lot of arguments, right? Today, someone asked me, like a friend was asking me, why do you put videos on YouTube, right? Uh, it puts a puts a bad light on you. Did she say put, or it it throws a bad light on you? Basically, to say that it makes me look bad, right? I mean, and she also mentioned how it could get really messy, and that I could get into a problem in case someone sees my videos. Why is it public and whatnot? I personally don't see any illegal issues uh, in the content of my videos, but anyways, um, so I was surprised when she said that, and then I was like, the amount of audacity that women have in today's time and era, right? Like the idea that women are right. I know women who don't like women. I've popularly heard that women in hostels don't help each other out. It's not the same as men in hostels, men in dorms, compared to women in dorms, or women in, or like girls in girls school versus boys in boys school. It's funny, but then they all want to be together, or they all want support, they all want power, right? Women want a lot of power because according to them, men have a lot of power, men have a lot of privilege. For example, this friend, she was saying that she feels very afraid to travel alone, for example, and basically the fear is that a man can actually do anything to her, say kidnap her, rape her, assault her, torture her, murder her, and whatnot, right? That's a lot of fear. Well, I think if women are fearing men, I think men should also fear women, because women also actually have a lot of power. So this, I think, has been happening in the last few years. Slowly, they're getting more and more power, women. Right? It's not a bad thing. It's just that one of my friends was telling recently, why do politicians have so much power, especially unnecessary power? Similarly, women are trying to get a lot of power. It's not unnecessary power, but it's actually a very dangerous power. If the woman is bad, she can use the power in a wrong manner to actually imprison and convict someone who's innocent, right? For example, I think the Nirbhaya case caused legal changes, caused changes in law, which ended up helping women to actually ensure that they can actually report cases of sexual assault and rape and whatnot. But the problem is, it allowed women to actually do that without any proof, right? Because it's usually hard to find proof, right? So, I mean, maybe you can do DNA tests, you can find out semen of the man from the woman's genitals and whatnot, but then usually women, I think they'll probably be afraid or even shaken up by all the things that's happening in their life, that probably after only days or who knows, even months or whatever, they'll report. If it's an actual case, they'll probably report very later, right? Because they're probably shook and shattered. They're assuming they're alive, right? So, in that time, they might lose all the evidence in their body, in their genitals and whatnot, and any marks of rape, for example, scratches of nails by the man, and the woman's scratches of nails on the man. So, it's hard to find proof. So, I agree. The problem is, without proof, if you just convict someone and also imprison them and then just like this, sentence them with different kinds of punishments. The problem is, there are some groups of women, most probably a minority. Someone would say not many women, not all women, right? They'll say not all women are doing this. So basically there are some women who are actually using this power to basically imprison men who are actually innocent. right? At least they didn't commit rape or crime or sexual assault. Maybe they would have committed something wrong, right? Which is probably not part of the law. For example, they broke up with a girl, with a woman, or they slapped her, or they said they will not give their money to her. Like, let's say it's a man and a woman, and they are married or not married. I mean, we are in a country and probably in a world where marital rape is also a thing, by the way. I don't know about the reporting of marital rapes and the laws around it. But yeah, it is true that a lot of women do suffer. In general rape and marital rape, imagine getting raped by your husband, and if the husband stays with a wife and goes to work and comes back every day at night and then rapes her, how brutal that would be, right? But the thing is, we have to safeguard the woman and the people in general from crimes, including brutal crimes like all these rape, murder, torture, and all. But the thing is, they are making changes in law in such a way that women have a lot of power where they can imprison even the innocent ones. And there are lawyers to help these women also, right? They'll get a lot of money, and women are just misusing all the power that they have. And now, with Abhaya's case in Kolkata in West Bengal, the RGKR hospital case, the rape murder case of a doctor, they're again asking for changes in law, right? Now, basically, they'll probably get more and more power, and most probably that power will be actually conditionless. For example, you don't need evidence to actually imprison such a person and whatnot. Now, it is a good thing for the people who couldn't find evidence or where evidence was all destroyed, but it's actually a bad thing for all the innocent men who will actually be prey to all the bad women out there, right? I personally think that men should be very, very careful. If women fear men and that they'll get raped, tortured, murdered, and all, men should fear women, probably. Yeah, I'm actually being very real now. Given the set of laws and whatnot, women can actually mess up your life. They can mess up your life like hell. They'll fucking screw you. That's the rude form of it, right? They'll just end your life. Not just your life. Let's say they put a false rape case on you or posh case on you and whatnot. Prevention of sexual harassment at a workplace and whatnot. And it's actually not really exactly a very intense case, but then it just happened to be that. And there's no investigation and whatnot. You, your family, everyone are just done for. Your let's say even if you are a very strong person who ideally just keeps their head really strong and is calm and patient and is not affected by the negativity outside, but your family will get affected a lot negatively. They will get a lot of hate, mockery, insult, shame. They will feel a lot of guilt and shame in general, even if they know that you are probably in the right or you are in the right. And the societal status, everything is gone. And your job, if you have a family, like as in apart from your parents, if you have say a wife or kids, your wife may not get her job. Your wife might lose her job if she has a job. Your kids will not get into school. There are such cases actually. Literally, one of the IPS officers, okay, got into a case, a false rape case, right? So if IPS officers can be, and this is a IPS officer who is innocent, or at least told to be innocent and proved and whatnot, I don't know what's the reality, because truth has many faces. Maybe they actually did something wrong, I don't know. But according to documentaries that I have seen, there are many people who are innocent, and either they got jailed, imprisoned, or they got a bail now, and or they committed is the wrong word for suicide. They died by suicide because of torture or whatever. Apart from false rape cases, even marriage related cases like alimony and whatnot, or taking what do you say? I forgot the name. Taking care of the child and saying that the child belongs to the mother and not the father. it's very possible that a mom is bad for the child and dad is good. Like maybe the statistics will say that most times the mom is better or good, but it's also possible that the dad can be good, right? And I think I don't know if they ask the child like, do you want to be with the mom or the dad? I don't know. Anyways, but they take custody. Custody is the term. So this can cause a lot of distress to men, right? Innocent men especially. And innocent men die. They get imprisoned or they get bail, and they are still fighting cases for years and years. They are losing money and their societal status and their mental health, energy, time, effort, headspace, and whatnot, focus. So yeah, I mean, it's inevitable. Different groups of people will keep fighting each other. For example, I try to be legal always. I am legal, like doing everything legally. I pay my taxes. I don't commit crimes and whatnot. So let's say I am part of the legal group. There shall be an illegal group who bribes people or who commits murders or rapes or who plans scams and executes them and whatnot. Basically, most probably I'll be actually fighting illegal people. So I am part of a group that is legal. Like one group is legal. I might be part of many such groups. I'm part of a group, let's say, who supports men also and women also, or humans in general, because it's not just men, women. But then people will say it's a woke idea. I have no idea of like why people say woke. People have their own definitions. People can define new words, but people can't define their identities or say this is who I am. And anyways, so there'll always be groups of people fighting each other. I think today and in the recent era, the fight has been for women. A lot of people are fighting for women. A lot of people are fighting for doctors. Yeah, and their main point being women are underprivileged, women are unsafe, and women are very vulnerable. It is true in many cases, a lot of cases, and it's very weird to actually focus only on doctors. The whole idea of like doctors are unsafe. I think many people are unsafe. Anyways, so they say helping hands should not bleed. No one should bleed actually. What's the whole idiotic idea, stupid idea of like helping hands should not? Like, are you saying that only helping or like helping hands should not bleed, but it's okay for other people to bleed? Like they deserve to bleed and whatnot? No, right? Like no one should like suffer or get harmed according to me. No. So why? So why just the whole idea of like helping hands should not bleed? I think they're just creating slogans. There's a lot of politics going on. Political parties trying to play their game. I don't know if this is like a root causes a political game or if it's just a thing or a situation that happened and then it turned political, where political parties took advantage of the whole situation and started attacking different parties. It's very funny for me sometimes when people attack groups of people with just one person's activity, like one person in that group. For example, let's say a man commits a crime. Let's say a man rapes someone, murders someone. Everyone is now against men. Right? That's weird. So let's say a man commits crime, rape, murder, whatever. Let's just say it's a man only, it's a male person, and that man belongs to an institution that is owned or headed by a political party person, and that so now if that man commits a crime, that political party is at in the wrong, right? How does that make sense? Like a political party or a institution or a group of people, it's like a big group of people. Just because one person makes a mistake, you can't say the whole set of people are wrong, right? Or the leader is wrong, right? Like that is just stupid. Like how can you? I mean, everyone cannot be vetted, and even if they are vetted, you will have to probably vet them continuously and whatnot. And that's a totally different kind of problem, wherein you have to ensure that your people, like you are a part of a group and you are the leader. Let's say your group of people don't commit a crime or don't do anything wrong. That's a hard problem to solve, right? And just because someone in the group made some mistake, went into the wrong path, did something illegal, doesn't mean the whole party is in the wrong, right? Doesn't have to be the case. Maybe it's the case, I don't know, but doesn't have to be the case, right? Just because, let's say, this is very popular, I think, in India and in general, right? Like, let's say a man commits a crime, the mother, father, the parents, basically, and the siblings, the whole family is now seen in bad light. They'll say you didn't, take care of your child. In Tamil, they'll say "valarpu seriyilla," meaning you didn't actually nurture your child in a very well manner, right? You nurtured a criminal. Well, it's probable, very possible and probable that the parents are very good people, right? They probably didn't know that there was such a side to their son, or adopted son or son, whatever, right? Or the family didn't know there was such a side, or he probably just turned into that man, that kind of bad person suddenly, or like in a very short period of time, before they could salvage him and help him and whatnot, and like find out first of all that there's a problem and that he's becoming criminal and whatnot, and he's having issues or whatever, right? So just because one person or a group of people makes some mistake doesn't mean that their the bigger group of people that they're part of, is at fault, right? It's a basic logical thing, right? Just because someone else made a mistake, you can't just, and I am related to that person, you can't just say you're also the wrong. You are actually supporting them, or you are supporting them all these time, all these years, or all this time. It's very possible that I never knew that what this person was doing, right? So, I mean, people just put a lot of blames. People just are like very emotional. I think currently in India, a lot of women are very emotional, very angry, out of fear. Basically, their fear is controlling them, manipulating them, and they are trying to get a lot of power through law changes in law, and it's not going to end well. I am actually starting to believe that women have to be very, very careful around men. You make a small mistake and you are caught, you're fucking dead. That's the truth. You're fucking dead. I know I'm swearing, I'm cussing out. You are done. You're done. You make a small mistake, you're done. You're done for. A woman can just mess up your life, is the reality. If women think a man can mess up their life, there is also this other side of the reality that a woman can also mess up a man's life. There are many ways to do that. Especially educated women or even uneducated women know how to work on these tricks or use these weapons in the law, in the society, in whatnot. They know how to manipulate people, a lot of them. And I think generally a lot of women are very outspoken. It's a very popular idea, and it's a very popular stereotype that men are not outspoken. But I'm not going to generalize all that. But then I can see one thing: when there's a big problem, when women start voicing out opinions and shout and like make a noise, a lot of women make a noise along with them. A lot of men make a noise along with them, and they get a lot of support. And it can be very great, yes, all this protest, unity and all, but it can also lead to very bad problems. For example, I heard a case, 20-year-old case, 2004 case, where a man got murdered in the courtroom. I agree that the man was a big criminal. He was apparently a rapist, a murderer, a thief. He used to traffic men, it seems, like women, it seems. He basically assaulted or raped or harassed everyone in the locality that he lived in. Right? It was a slum area, and he got imprisoned multiple times, and he got out of the prison multiple times. And the one time in 2004 when he got imprisoned and there was a trial, the women in the slum, many women heard that he'll get out this time also. They went to the courtroom apparently, and they stabbed him and killed him in a matter of 15 minutes. I understand justice is served, right? But then if you think more, how can you actually just justify that a group of people can just go ahead and kill someone? Like, I agree that the person is bad. I don't know like if he deserves to die or if he deserves torture or whatever, right? I believe that everyone is worthy. So because if you have any reason for someone to not be worthy, then if that reason happens to you, then you are also probably not worthy, right? So even criminals are worthy, yes. It's just that how do you act or enact punishment is a question. If you leave it to people, it can get very messy and chaotic, right? I mean, this was a one-off case. Ideally, it should not be allowed to kill someone just like that, right? The justice system has to be improved, yes, and we have to look at how to ensure that criminals don't rise up and don't become like people don't become criminals, and how to prevent other people from criminals and bad stuff, illegal stuff and whatnot, and from getting harmed. But 200 people going and stabbing someone in a court and killing him seems a bit scary also. How do they have the guts to do this in a courtroom, right? uh, so does this mean that if you have a set of people, let's say a set of women who actually will listen to you, if you actually just point them to someone and say kill this person and make it like a mass, not mass murder means many people getting murdered, but many people committing a murder, right? To one person or a small group of people, like then and they won't get actually, they won't have any consequences. Then are you saying that you have a way to actually kill people, cause problems, cause chaos, uh, and create a mess, cause a mess, just with the idea of or with the power of a few set of people, especially women or whatever, and underprivileged people, and say that they are all innocent and they did the right thing? Right thing, according to the law, it's not. Anyways, so yeah, I mean, a lot of things are happening. I just want to say that we have to be very careful about the direction this is going in, and I just wanted to talk about the different sides of things. It's a very hard problem to solve. I don't have any solution, but I'm sure that the solutions that people are coming up with can have a lot of problems. Uh, cool. So yeah, that's all I had for this video. I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.